Hey guys, welcome back, it's Ripe again. In today's video, an HOA Karen built an illegal fence around my property to block my factory and destroy my business. Here is what happened. Let's dive right into the story. So I wanna just start by explaining how there is an HOA in the same place as my factory, because with all the times I've told this story, I keep getting asked that. So basically half of the area that was all residential became commercial, but the boundaries of this HOA did not actually change. Meaning that despite not being a home or having the ability to join the HOA, we are still technically in that boundary. Nobody cares to change or pay attention to it because it didn't really become relevant until a new HOA president started and we found out she was the biggest Karen in the world. Well, maybe not the world, but the worst I've ever met at least. So when I first met her, I did not even know who I was meeting with since I was just in my office. Then this lady just bursts right in with big hair, fake nails and a frickin' tiny ass dog in her bag yapping away. Followed by an employee who was apologizing and telling me that they told her to leave but she wouldn't listen and keep going. Me, it's alright, I'll take it from here. Can I help you, ma'am? HOA president. Ma'am? Well, that's a little rude and presumptuous, isn't it? Me, okay, what can I help you with today, miss? HOA president. I'm in charge of the HOA now and found out that your factory here is part of it. Me, well, not really part of it. There's no home, so no homeowner. You don't really need to worry about it. HOA president, excuse you, I wasn't asking you to tell me about my job. What I want to know is why you are trying to take perfectly good HOA land for yourself. She throws down a map onto my desk and circles an area within my factory that is, as of right then, empty land. My plan was to build additional employee parking once I got the money sorted. It was all on my own property though, so I didn't understand what her problem was. I tell her that I own it and she says that if I'm not using the land, that makes it property of the HOA. She clearly has zero idea what she's talking about or even doing. Yes, if there's land in the area that nobody owns, the HOA can move in on it, but people are allowed to own land and not put anything there. That would be like her trying to take everybody's yard space away. I ask her to leave several times and she just gets more angry and demands that I give her a key to the factory main gate so she can have better access to that area. There was nothing blocking it, she just felt like going all the way around was too inconvenient. I had to call security in order to get rid of her and then spent a good 10 minutes processing what the hell just happened. Weirdest meeting ever I've ever had as a business owner. I was lucky to not actually live in this neighborhood and be spared partially from Karen. She was in no way done starting trouble for me though. She was serious about thinking the land should belong to her and then made plans to get it. Keep in mind, this meant several times trespassing onto my property without being in any type of safety equipment, which is required even for visitors. In a single night, she managed to build a fence blocking off that area she deemed to be her property. This Karen clearly lacked a brain because she was also now blocking one of our emergency side exits. The fence literally was inches from the door and stopped it from opening. Some might think it was on purpose, but I really believe the dog is smarter than she is. I cannot legally or morally not have my emergency fire exits usable. I called up the lawyer I have used a few times before and told him that Karen went crazy and built a fence blocking off some of my property and an exit. I was tempted to destroy the fence, but my lawyer told me not to give Karen or her lawyers anything to use. It could cause the case to drag out longer if she wanted to try and claim that I destroyed her property. Even if it was on my property, she still owned it, I guess. I know nothing though, don't take legal advice from me. Anyway, we hoped that it would be easy and instead of an actual case, a judge would look at it and say that the fence had to be removed. However, Karen refused to make anything easy because along with no brain, she did not have the ability to claim that she was wrong. She wanted to find out who actually owned the property and that she had a right to put up a fence there. If I was dealing with even a semi-smart Karen, she would have made fake papers saying that the part of the land was not mine or that I was encroaching. Essentially something that would drag things out and force me to shut down my factory for who knows how long due to safety reasons. She gave the court the same speech of how unused land became HOA land automatically that she could then use for the community. And with the fence, she was gonna start a garden to make things smell nice next to a factory, which, according to her, was evil and created smog and toxins and poisoned water. Because I guess she thought this was the olden times industrial age. When she was told that unused land did not go to the HOA, and since I owned the property, she could not take it over and build a garden. Well then, she she still insisted that a fence was needed to protect people from the factory. I really wish she was allowed to keep going, because I never got to find out what that meant and I kind of wanted to. She got cut off because she was arguing about the fence after being told to get rid of it. Also, if she tried to refuse to take it down and I had to keep my doors shut, she would be responsible to pay me for what I would lose in a day of revenue, a number that she didn't want to mess around with. Because of that, the fence was gone within a day and I had enough reason to get a restraining order against this HOA. They already had to pay me for a few days off half the factory being closed and didn't want Karen getting them in more trouble. I don't know if she tried to pull this with other places within her boundaries, but my guess is that the rest of the HOA reined her in before she caused them more lawsuits. At least now, because of this, somebody is looking into trying and getting the boundaries changed so the HOA is really only affecting the area with houses. Like the name suggests, it should have the entire time. It's not a garden, but I did get the new parking area set up, which solved a lot of problems and complaints I was getting. I also invested in some doors that need keycard access, so a Karen cannot just let herself in and bust into my office anymore. And the next one is a malicious compliance story. And if you have enjoyed this story so far, please don't forget to like the video and maybe even leave a comment, because that would help me tremendously. So, not my own malicious compliance, but overheard then witnessed at work. A few months ago, the two owners at my work had a huge disagreement which has escalated to full-blown screaming matches in the middle of the office and nearly into several physical fights. It came to a head last Friday and owner A decided to pack it all in and leave effective immediately. After lunch, owner B called the warehouse manager up to the office and pointed at owner A's office, situated just off the main open plan office, and said, "I'm too stressed to deal with this, so I'm going home. Bin everything in that room. I don't want to see a shred of evidence that owner A worked here when I get back on Monday morning." The warehouse manager looked at the offending office and back to owner B. "Are you sure you want to bin everything, boss?" Owner B looked ready to explode already, and apparently this extra bit of clarification sent him over the edge. "Did I stutter? Get rid of everything in there, or you can clear out your desk too." And so owner B stormed off and our warehouse manager took out his walkie-talkie and summoned up two of his warehouse staff and then relayed the instructions. The warehouse workers questioned it and got the same answer. Yes, absolutely everything, and so they got to work. Owner A's personal effects were put into a box and sealed up to be taken to him by one of the purchasing staff who lived nearby. Everything else was bagged up and put into the bins. The paperwork and stationery were boxed up to be shredded and destroyed. Next, the monitor and printer were taken to the bins, followed by the desk and chair. When I left at 4 p.m, the warehouse workers were just starting to take down the wall-mounted bookshelves. I would have expected them to stop there, but when I got in this morning, there was nothing left in the office. The curtains and blinds are gone, plug sockets and light fittings taken off the walls, leaving exposed wires, the tiles removed from the ceiling showing the ductwork and wiring above. The carpet that owner A requested to be put in was torn up, leaving the underlay. Even the door with owner A's name plaque on it was taken off the hinges. It looks like a construction site in there. Owner B came in at 10 this morning, took one look at the bomb site and started screaming his head off and demanded to see the warehouse manager. He wanted whoever did this to put this right and then get off site as they were fired. If no one owned up, then the whole warehouse shift was fired. Our warehouse manager never wanted to give a crap, just peered into the office and said, "You said bin everything, boss, looks like they did," and then walked off. Owner B looked like he was gonna burst a vessel. And the next one is an Am I the A-hole story with a final update, so please watch until the end to see the conclusion. So I, 29 female, have a husband named Matt, 32 male, and an older brother named Tony, 32 male. Tony has a wife named Anna, 33 female, and Tony and I both went to boarding school growing up. I went to an all-girls school and he went to an all-boys school across the country. Because of the distance, we were not very close as kids and I didn't know much about his life back then. When Tony was at boarding school, he met my future husband Matt and they became best friends. At the time, Tony was dealing with depression about his sexuality and Matt helped him out of it. Long story short, they ended up falling in love and having a relationship. Once they graduated high school, they broke up and then lost touch. I didn't know about any of this at the time. I ended up going to the same university as Matt, which is where I met him. I did not mention my brother initially because he wasn't really a part of my life, and since Tony and I have different last names, the three of us didn't put the pieces together until a family gathering a year later. I'm not gonna lie, it was tough at first for everyone involved, but eventually we were able to get past it and Tony and Matt became best friends again. And then Matt and I got married 3 years ago. When I met Tony's partner Anna for the first time, I privately asked Tony if he told her about his history with Matt. Tony said it was still a new relationship and he would tell her when they were more serious. Now, Tony and Anna are married. Since Tony and Matt are so close, they often go on boys' trips with just the two of them. They took one of these trips this past weekend and everything was going fine until I got a call from Anna asking if I knew where Tony was. Apparently, he told her that he was gonna see our parents, but she called them and he was not there. I told her that he was on a trip with Matt. She got upset and asked me if there was something going on between them. Thinking she already knew because she and Tony are now married, I told her not to worry because Matt and Tony's romance ended in high school. That is when I found out that Tony never told her. And well, Tony was furious at me when he got back because Anna is now threatening divorce and I am tearing up his family because I told her without asking him first. Apparently, Tony did not tell Anna the truth because he thought that she would not let him see Matt anymore, and now Anna wants him to cut me and Matt out completely. Matt is upset too because he cannot see Tony and he is losing his best friend all over again. So basically, my brother wants to cut me out of his life, his wife wants a divorce, and my husband is miserable, all because of something I said. I feel so guilty and I cannot help but feel as though I messed up. And yeah, ripe stars, let me know in the comments what you think about this. Was OP the a-hole here or not? Reddit said, I'm gonna say yes and also no. Yes, because you low-key outed someone without their permission. You could have asked more prying questions to see if she knew before hitting her with the, oh yeah, he used to give him the cluck cluck 3000, but that's ended years ago. Even a, what do you mean, Anna, would have sufficed probably. However, I agree with other commenters that something is shady and something more is going on too. Tony shouldn't want to cut you out of his life entirely unless he is afraid of getting caught again. You are likely being kept in the dark. This could be some Brokeback Mountain stuff. Comment number 2, I cannot even make a judgment here, but I'd be concerned if I was you. The fact that your brother repeatedly lies to his wife about his guy trip with your husband makes me think you both are in the dark here and it's more of a Brokeback Mountain situation going on. Update, I was not at all expecting my last post to get so much attention. To say that the comments were a wake-up call is an understatement. Many people wanted an update, so here it is. Basically, after I gave my husband space, I confronted him about his trips with my brother. He agreed to be honest with me about their relationship. As some of you suspected, Matt knew when we first met that I was Tony's sister and started dating me to get close to Tony again. He claimed that in the first year of our relationship, before he reunited with Tony, he genuinely fell in love with me. When Tony saw us together, he admitted to Matt that he still loved him and was distraught when Matt said that he didn't feel the same way. Eventually, they made amends and became close friends again. Around the time Matt married me, Tony fell into a deep depression. That's when the trip started. Matt told me that initially he was just supporting Tony as a friend, but Tony broke down on one of the trips and confessed that he never stopped loving Matt and was lying about the trips to his wife because he felt guilty and also why he never told her about their history. He begged Matt to keep this a secret to protect their relationship. According to Matt, nothing physical ever happened between them. I pushed him on why Anna thought there was something going on, and Matt eventually admitted they were having an emotional affair. A few months ago, Anna overheard a phone call between Tony and Matt that made her suspicious, so she went through Tony's phone and confronted him about some things she found. No hard proof, but enough to make her uneasy. She told Tony that she didn't want him hanging out with Matt anymore, but he did anyway until I accidentally ratted him out. My brother and sister-in-law have totally cut contact, so I don't have anyone to corroborate my husband's story. I still don't know how much of it I believe. If it's true, I don't know why Anna never told me anything. The whole thing sounds too ridiculous to be true, but for now, it's all I have. Matt has apologized non-stop and wants to work through this, which I cannot even think about right now. The past couple of weeks have been awful. Matt moved out and we both agreed that we need distance before making any decisions about our marriage, but I don't see us coming back from this. I don't think I'll ever be able to trust anyone again. The worst thing is I only have myself to blame for being so naive and not seeing the massive red flags sooner. And as for marrying my brother's ex in the first place, more than anything, I feel so incredibly guilty. This was not the ending I had hoped for, but I'm grateful that I at least have some answers now. Honestly, I'm not sure I would have had the courage to directly confront this if not for my post here, so despite everything, maybe we can all think of this as somewhat of a happy ending. Thank you for comments and support. And yeah, ripe stars, I gotta say, this story had such an incredible plot twist. I would have never expected this from a post on r/am-I-the-a-hole. Let me know in the comments what you think about this story. The next one is titled Never Steal My Food. So we got this amazing Italian place near us. Their meatballs are of pork, lamb and beef. Truly things that melt in your mouth. The hard part is that my girlfriend is a very attractive Hispanic woman. The owner of this restaurant, I have heard, are from Sicily, and when she goes in to order our meatball subs, they load up her order. Each sandwich has 5 of these wonderful mixed meats with Parmesan cheese. Flirtatious happy Italian man oogling to fulfill her order. Now, if I go in to order the same, white man, blonde hair, blue eyes, they are short with me, don't offer options and tell me the X amount. They wanted to charge me extra for Parmesan cheese. I literally get 4 meatballs per sandwich. When I get my food, each sandwich is short a wonderful spicy meatball. So now my petty revenge. A few days later I called asking for the manager. I told him that I was the editor of a popular food critic for the local paper. I went on to ask him several questions about their food, menu and pricing. At the end I told him that I had sent both female and male critics to judge their menu. When I explained that our female critic was being hit upon and offered more than our male critic, he went into full-out damage control. I said I would publish my report in the next week. Of course, that never happened because I was not a food critic. Since then, when I go in, I get my 5 meatballs on my sandwiches. And yeah, ripe stars, I'm curious, do you enjoy Italian food? What is your favorite cuisine in the world? Let me know. For me personally, it's probably either French, Sri Lankan or Burmese food. And now let's move on to the next story. It starts like this. So I live in an HOA, and while I hate to admit it, I don't find it extremely bad. Mine has never gotten to a point where they make a bunch of crazy rules or start picking on people to my knowledge. To be honest, if it wasn't for a single person, I might forget on occasion that I am in an HOA neighborhood. However, that person is my next door neighbor and one of the people that help run the HOA, I guess. She is not the president of the association or anybody that important, but she comes off with an attitude that says she thinks she is. I get in arguments with her all of the time that are mostly based on her telling me that something is against the HOA bylaws and me telling her that it actually isn't. Then it will usually follow with her claiming she's gonna make it a rule and then I will pay, to which I wave her off. She is not really threatening to me and just more annoying than anything else. I do make a note to make sure that my kids don't play near her house though, because she can get a feisty mouth and no care who hears her. So much for wanting to help maintain a nice family-friendly environment, right? Personally, I have a pool in my backyard and it can get hot where I live in the summer, so I tend to put it to good use. The whole family uses it, but I like to sometimes be selfish and take some mom alone time to have a relaxing soak with a glass of wine. Those are days my husband is with the kids or they are off at grandma's house. Now, my neighbor is against pools for some reason and I know has been trying and failing to get them banned from the neighborhood for years to no avail. One day seeing me though must have made her snap because she ended up in my backyard yelling at me. "Neighbor, get out of there right now! You cannot do that!" Me, get the hell out of my yard! F you cannot just be out here in the neighborhood naked for anybody to see. I can call the police and have you arrested. Me, and I can make sure you are escorted off my property for trespassing. So get the F out now. I would like to note that I was not naked but wearing a bikini. I don't know about every single place in the world, and I'm sure that some places are strict enough that not even that is allowed. Here though, if I'm on my own property, I can wear anything I want in the pool. A bikini is perfectly natural, and I don't know what this lady was on to come and start a fight about. I even moved up a little to show her that I wasn't naked, thinking maybe if that would appease her, she would just walk away. But no, she was just as angry and started calling the police on me right then and there. I could hear her end of the conversation perfectly, with her saying some woman was naked and running around the entire neighborhood scaring children and the elderly. She made it sound like I was on drugs or something and losing my mind naked. Meanwhile, I was just sitting on the edge of my pool in complete shock that she went this far. I did not know what to do exactly, so I hoped that when the police came and saw the crazy lady, that was me, sitting calmly with a bathing suit on, they would go away. They did arrive and were fairly confused at my neighbor, pointing and saying that they had to arrest me right away because I was breaking the law and HOA rules. Policeman: "What exactly is the issue here? You don't want her in a bikini in her own pool?" Neighbor: "She is naked and the entire neighborhood can just walk in and see this." Policeman: "She's not naked though. She is wearing a bikini and in her own backyard. That is not a crime." Neighbor: "It's the same thing as if she was standing out here in her underpants. She looks like a total sleut and I for one don't want to see it." Me: "Then maybe don't come into my backyard without permission." Policeman number 2: "Ma'am, please just let us handle this." You are not in any trouble. Neighbor: "Screw that. I want her evicted from her house for breaking the law right now. Take out your guns and handcuff her and take her away so this neighborhood can be safe." I cannot tell if that meant she wanted me shot for wearing a bikini, but honestly, I'm gonna interpret it as that. While she was still going, I was asking the second policeman if I had any right to ask her to be removed from my private property. She was obviously not invited and came in to harass me and called the police on me with some fake story. They told me that they could make her go back to her house, but were not too keen on arresting her unless she continued to do things like this. That was okay enough for me at this point, so they tried to get her off my property to continue their conversation somewhere else. Karen was not happy about that though and said she was refusing to leave my yard until they arrested and evicted me for my lewd behavior. With her volume, other people had been on the street looking and she was causing a public disturbance. The police warned her that she had to leave or they could and would arrest her for trespassing and disturbing the peace. Not to mention that she could still get in trouble for calling 911 with a total lie in order to get police to come in the first place. Obviously, if she told the truth, then they would have told her on the phone that it was not an emergency and would not have come. She, of course, did not listen and even tried to argue that since she was part of the HOA, that meant she was not allowed to be arrested. That plan worked out as well as anybody could guess, and after one more warning, they finally arrested her. I could tell they didn't want to be bothered and hoped that she would listen and they could go without having to arrest anybody that day. The backlash of what happened was not very good in her favor either. Like I said in the beginning, the HOA here is pretty calm to be honest and did not like the fact that somebody was throwing a fit and getting attention all in the name of the HOA. So what ended up happening was that she was getting kicked out of her small position and ironically enough ended up getting some HOA fines of her own for what happened. The arrest did not really lead to anything and she was given a warning to stay off of people's properties and not to call the police unless it was an actual emergency. I know it would have been more satisfying if she went to jail for some of you, but for me, watching her lose the tiny amount of power she thought she had felt just as good. And yeah, ripe stars, here we have it. This is actually a rare example of a homeowners association that doesn't seem too bad. But as usual, you of course have the entitled HOA Karen that has to ruin it for everyone. Let's hope that the neighborhood is now more peaceful. And with this, we have reached the end of the video. However, if you cannot get enough of my content, please check out my endless playlist, where you can find thousands of hours of content. In addition, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel to not miss any of my daily uploads. Thank you so much in advance, and I hope to see you again tomorrow.